the one who seeks God, the one who seeks happiness, the one who practices self-inquiry, the one who prays. They're all seeking the same thing. You know, this might shock you, but well, we're in Amsterdam. It probably won't. But I referred on the first evening, I think, to the second day the first evening to a walk that Bernardo had taken me on in the north of my hotel, and we started at the King's Square. We went past all the coffee shops, and then we went to the King's Square where they were. There was a bungee, a little capsule. You could put 2 or 3 people could get into this capsule, which was projected. I don't know, 30 meters up into the air, and then it just plunged. And just before it, and it, not only was it plunging downwards, it was also swiveling backwards and forwards like this. And just before it hits the ground, well, I don't know, 5 meters before it ground, it's caught on the rubber, and up it goes again. And people were willingly putting themselves through this experience.
Seeking for love.
What were they doing? What were they really doing, and why? They were invoking in themselves the fear of death. It was a self-generated brush with death. You're up 30 meters and you're plunging towards the earth. The message you're giving the body is you're about to die. And all the resistance of the body comes up, and yet you know it's safe. So you're faking the fear of death in very safe circumstances. Why? Why would you do that? What happens in this intense fear? There is a kind of surrender. People are inducing a heightened state of fear in order to experience the subsequent release from it. In that release, there is in that moment, the finite mind plunges into its source. The finite mind is the fear of death. The finite mind has been wound up into this incredibly intense state of fear, and then it's released. And in that release, the mind plunges into its source and tastes its true nature. And then we walked from there across the road. There's a church, I think it's the Church of St. Nicholas. And we went and sat in there for 5 or 10 minutes, and they were just starting a mass, and people were coming in and praying, and what were they doing? And why? They're doing the same thing. They're going towards the same experience. They want to lose themselves in God. They want to lose their sense of separation. They're wanting to precipitate exactly the same experience that the people on the bungee jump were trying to precipitate. And then we walked on round, and we walked back down through the red light district, through one of the streets, and all the windows on the side, some of the curtains are drawn and some of them are open, with almost naked women advertising and opening the door and like this. Why are people going there? What are people looking for in that experience, in this merging?
I often wondered.
What?
I often wondered.
No, but you know, I presume all of us know from our own experience of this merging, and particularly in the experience of orgasm, there is a kind of loss of identity. There is a dissolution of the sense of separateness. That's all people are going there for. It's not, do you honestly think it's for a few pleasant sensations? No, it's not. It's because in that moment of merging, in that moment of, in this case, it's not heightened fear, it's heightened sensation. In that moment, the separate self is expanded beyond its limits. There is this collapse of separation, this merging, this apparent merging. And in that moment, exactly the same experience takes place. The finite mind plunges into its source. In all these three cases, the bungee jump, the church, the red light district, it's the same experience. In fact, it's the only experience the separate self ever seeks, is the loss of its separate identity. It's not possible for the separate self to seek anything else. Every desire the separate self has is only the desire to cease being separate. And people find that experience in different ways. The most direct way that I know is what we speak of here is what Ramana Maharshi called Atma-vichara, or self-abidance. Because there's no distance between being aware and being aware. It is the shortest route. It doesn't go via the object or via a sensation. There is infinite consciousness, and there is infinite consciousness with a veil of thoughts and feelings superimposed onto it that make it seem finite. With this veiling of our true nature, the peace and happiness of our true nature is lost. And that is why this veiled awareness, which is the separate self, longs to return. We don't even need to get rid of the veil, we just need to turn our attention towards the essential nature of what we call I. Most of us, when we say I, we think of a collection of thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions. But if we really turn our attention towards I, we just find the experience of being aware. We don't find a collection of thoughts and feelings. I is just the experience of being aware. And that experience is available to everybody, irrespective of their intelligence, their health, their wealth, their creed, their nationality, their age. It's available equally to everybody, because everybody knows the experience I. The experience I, or I am, refers to our essential being. That is our being that is not mixed with anything other than itself, such as a thought or a feeling. It is totally available, 24/7, to everyone. And that is the purpose of life. For the separate self, the only purpose in life, everything the separate self does, everything the separate self does, it does only to divest itself of its limits.